What does it mean to hold space for love and justice at the same time? To care for someone you love while challenging a system that was not built for you. Today, we explore the courage it takes to care for a parent with early onset Alzheimer's and the systems that often forget the families holding it together. This conversation is about caregiving, long distance caregiving, when we become full time caregivers, and about representation and equity in dementia care, and how real stories teach us how to keep showing up. And today, my guest is Jessica C. Guthrie, a leading advocate reshaping the conversation around caregiving and career, drawing from more than a decade of experience as a primary caregiver for her mom, Constance. Jessica founded Career and Caregiving Collide to empower family caregivers navigating dual responsibilities. She partners with companies, organizations, and all of us in this community to help build comprehensive strategies that validate and amplify diverse caregiving experiences. And I know that I have learned from Jessica. I'm excited for all of you to hear her voice and to learn from her, her care, her passion. I encourage you to follow her on her social media to have more of a glimpse into her life and to connect with her. We talk all about her caregiving experience and how social media is a way that she created the thing that she needed, and now with her deeper work of education. So this story is love and purpose, and caregiving isn't only what we give, but it is what transforms us in the giving. And every visible caregiver becomes a doorway for another voice to be heard. And that is how change starts. Here is my conversation with Jessica. Jessica Guthrie. We finally get to do this together, which I've been looking forward to a lot. And I know we've had conversation, and it's just been a joy to get to know you a little bit more. And I'm excited I know actually so many other people do know you, but an extension of that to share with even more people. So thank you. Welcome.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat today.
For those that are meeting you for the first time,
Mhm.
how do you introduce yourself? Not
Mhm.
only by caregiving, but like, who are you? Who are you to the world and to yourself and to friends? I'd love to hear you share.
I love that. I am Jessica C. Guthrie. I am the daughter of Constance Guthrie, and I have been her full-time caregiver for the last 10 years and 11 months. And in addition to being her caregiver, I am someone who is also an educator. I'm an advocate. I'm someone who deeply cares about justice and equity and leaving the world better than I found it. In my free time, whenever I get it, I love teaching my fitness class at the YMCA, and bringing together people around dance and music and creating a
Mm.
sense of joy and connection. And I would say I love meal prepping and singing and truly just being in my space, in community with other people. So that's what I would say, like who Jessica is in the
Mhm.
essence of all the things that interest me.
Yes, and I'm going to add to that. Oh, you are strong and you inspire people around you, and your ability to be open and share and challenge all of us in like the best way to think through different things and to hold space for others and to shift our perspective. And I know you probably didn't know how much I've learned for you prior to meeting you. And then, and I'm sure lots of people feel that way, but then, having the chance to visit and to get to know you a little bit more. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
always love to hear how people view me or like what they know,
Mm,
like what they would say about me. And so I always
mhm,
appreciate hearing it. So thank you. That was really kind.
yeah. Oh, it's my pleasure. Your caregiving began in 2015. How that began for you, your mom, what that was like.
Yeah, so my mom was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease in 2014.
Okay.
She was 66 years old and I was 26 years old. I'm an only child, and I was living in Dallas, Texas working and building my career and very much trying to figure out like who I was as a young adult. And my
Mhm.
mom was living in Virginia. My mom was also an educator, and so she was working in the local school system. And we get this diagnosis, and I'm just like, okay, okay, okay. At the time, I didn't know very much about Alzheimer's disease, let alone being 26 years old and caring for a parent.
Mhm.
But I did what I knew my mom would want, and that would be treat her with dignity and respect and create
Mhm.
all the possible structures and systems to keep her as independent as possible. And so my caregiving journey very much started with just like hitting the ground running to ensure that my mom had what she needed, and then hopping on a plane and going back to my life in Dallas, right? And so people don't often know this, but the first half of my caregiving journey was long distance.
Mhm.
And the power of hope and prayer that like
Mhm.
nothing would happen while I was gone. But yeah, it all happened pretty quickly. My mom was displaying signs of just forgetfulness, repetition in her questions, and then of course like losing things. But it wasn't until she got in a car accident where I was like, oh, okay, my instincts are telling me that
Mhm.
something is wrong, and this just confirmed that something is off. And then from
Mm.
there, like started the whole domino effect of doctor's visits, testing, and all of that.
Yeah. How was the diagnosis process for you? I know many people have so many hurdles with that. It takes so long.
Yeah, so I believe that I was very fortunate because things moved really quickly for us, but I think it's because I knew the questions to ask and who to ask them of. And so
Mm.
my mom has a brother who is also a physician, and when she was in Chicago a couple of years before that, they had visited Rush Memory Clinic, which, in the land of Alzheimer's disease is like a well-known institution. And so, they had done like an initial kind of review for my mom, and so I knew that there was some sort of cognitive decline. I
Mm.
knew that like it would be best for me to visit a neurologist. And so I
Mhm.
kind of skipped over the whole like, I think there's something wrong. And I was like, primary care physician, can you please give me some referrals to local neurologists?
Yeah.
And she was like, oh yeah, here you go. Like she didn't actually poke or prod. She was like, okay. And I took it into my hands and I went straight to our local neurologist. And I'm
Mm.
grateful because I didn't live here. I was traveling back and forth. There just happened to be a date open when I was home,
Wow.
got us into our first appointment, and then I was able to lean on family friends to take her to follow-up scans and the testing and all of that. And so I would say we did our first appointment was in July,
Mm.
and she got like the initial based off of what we've done. Our assumption is that she has early onset Alzheimer's disease September. So it only
Mm.
took a few months.
Okay.
And I'm really grateful for that because I
Mhm.
think it was almost like divine protection and help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you were sharing that, I was thinking, okay, that's like a God moment where he knew you were there for that time.
Mhm.
Yeah. Wow. Did you and your mom ever, prior to that, have any conversations about care or growing older or kind of what that would, or what she would like or any of that?
Yeah. I people ask me that question and I look back and it's like, I don't believe we ever had any
Mhm.
explicit conversations, which to anyone listening, especially if you're a younger caregiver or like a younger child caring for a parent, have the conversations now because everything from finances to legal documents to even just like her wishes,
Mhm.
I had to lean on what I knew about my mom and like the things that I did know that we did talk about. So my mom
Right.
would always say, "You're gonna like you're not gonna put me into a home," and like it always happened like in terms of a joke, but I was
Mhm.
like, I think she really meant that, and so
I'm like,
I used
that
that.
was good.
I think I use that as just like a yeah, my mom wants to stay at home. And I saw how
Mhm.
comfortable she was at home. I saw how difficult it was for her to leave her home. And so that was really much the driving factor of I have to keep her home. And we have to figure out how to age in place well.
Mhm.
And everything really like was surrounded by that decision. So no, we
Mhm.
didn't actually have any conversations, but what I tell people all the time is that I know my mom And because I'm an only child, it's just been the two of us for so long. I knew that whatever I did had to keep, my mom had to be at the center. I had
Mm,
to operate from a place of love and intention. And I
mhm,
also had to make sure that she was safe and like thought about.
mhm.
And that is what drove every choice that I made from diagnosis to present day.
Yeah. How did you discover, or where did you go initially for learning or support, or could you even find anything that was helpful for you?
Such a great question.
Mhm,
So I was 26 and I was like a young, not like I was young,
mhm,
Black, early in my
mhm,
career. And I did not see models of what it looked
mhm,
like to be
mhm.
like a young professional, but also caring for a parent.
Yeah.
And people often said, like, well, have you checked in with your local Alzheimer's Association or go to a
Mhm.
local support group? Now, the first thing I'll say is those are really great resources. And I think for the
Yeah.
right people, it's a good fit. But as a 26-year-old young professional Black woman, I
Yeah.
felt completely out of water and like their experiences did not match mine. And so it
Mhm.
didn't feel welcoming. It didn't feel supportive. It did not feel like a place where I could learn. And so to be honest, I didn't have an initial place to go for resources and supports beyond whatever Googling I might have done.
Right.
Um, and then of course, what was the book? The 24-hour day. I like
Mhm.
got that book to like figure out questions to ask. But I can
Mhm.
honestly tell you my greatest learning came from social media and
Mhm.
sharing my stories so that people could then connect with me and point me in the right direction or give me insights for me to ask more questions. And
Yeah.
frankly, sad to say that that's the experience of so many people with a dementia diagnosis.
It really is. It really is. And that, when I had reached out to you to ask you to help share your perspective for the CSA article, certified senior advisors, which encompasses all different professionals and whatnot, to give them the understanding of that is such a big part of when I talk with families where they're going to for the support, the information, because they're oftentimes not finding it in Google search is so overwhelming, right? Physicians, talking to younger caregivers, it's like, and those organizations are great that fit that need, like the Alzheimer's Association, but they're in support groups with people that they can't identify with. And so then it almost feels more isolating, and having you and others be in that space to give people the support that they need. I mean, it's life changing, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And what you find, and what I find is that the people that I was drawn to, and I'm sure why people are drawn to me sharing, it's not
Mhm.
because I am like giving them worksheets or one pagers or handouts with the bullet points of what you need to know. It's
Totally.
truly sharing vulnerably and authentically the realities of
Mhm.
what our day to day looks like. And that's what people
Mhm.
truly need is like I need to be able to see it to believe that I can do it. I need to be able to see it to recognize like I truly am not, I'm not off here in our experience, or like, yeah, that is really difficult, right? Or
Mhm.
affirming the realities of how tough it is to navigate the healthcare system, right? Like, so seeing
Mhm.
those things in real time and seeing a human do it and not just talk to me in textbook speak or whatever printed handout goes such a long way in the humanizing of navigating a disease like Alzheimer's.
Absolutely. I believe when we connect with people and we hear their voice, we also can see parts of ourselves in maybe the story that they're sharing or pulling out the ability to learn in a way of observing, right? The compassion and the communication and the ability to witness that we're
Yes.
encouraged that we can also step into that, and that we're not alone in that. I think that's a huge
Mhm,
support system.
mhm.
Absolutely. So for you to then go from finding, right, support, but also was there a specific moment or a time when you felt like I need to create the thing that I need or share my story more publicly? Was that hard for you? was that like?
Yeah, that's why I started sharing or create. That's why I created my public Instagram, which is when
Mhm.
career and caregiving collide. Is there's two main reasons why I started sharing so publicly. I think the first is that I was a young millennial worker, like in the workplace, all the
Mhm.
while caring for a parent. And one of my greatest frustration is that like the workplace had just gotten really great in supporting people who were parents or caregivers
Mhm.
caring for kids. But
Yeah.
like, I felt so isolated because the language wasn't inclusive and I didn't feel like I was seen as a caregiver of an adult. And so I was
Mhm.
like, I'm going to share my story to create more awareness and empathy that there are people my age who are not just caring for kids, but are also caring for parents. And we deserve to feel seen too. So like, that was like reason number one. And
Yeah.
reason number two, just as important, is that I was a 26-year-old young Black professional that was now caregiving, and I didn't see any
Mhm.
other models. And I was like, I'm going to create the thing that I needed. And that's when I was like, I'm just going to share openly and honestly, and my people will come. And, it
Mhm.
wasn't just other young Black woman caregivers, it's now people from around the world, right? Like, it's a
Mhm.
huge community of folks who have been caregivers, current caregivers, people who are becoming caregivers. And so it was never difficult for me to share. I'm a millennial. Listen, we grew up in the age of MySpace and Facebook. We share, overshare, right?
Right.
But it was a matter of I need to create a place, in this case, Instagram, where I can
Mhm.
just be honest and say the thing out loud. And
Mhm.
in me sharing, I'm hoping that I'm helping to change perspectives, understandings, increase empathy and curiosity around what this could look like for people.
I'm so thankful that you decided to do that. I'm sure, and not I'm sure, everyone else is also. There's also the conversation around systems and overlooking of not only of caregivers, but especially marginalized communities. And you've shared one comment in the article was about people of color often seen as hired help in care. And but the reality is, and the truth in humanity is that the stories need to be elevated and to challenge that narrative publicly.
Yes.
What's that been like for you to challenge that? And my follow-up question is, how can we support you and also shifting that narrative?
Yeah. I don't think that it's been difficult in challenging it because the reality is it's hard to challenge a truth, right?
How exactly? That's what I was like, the truth in humanity. Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
I think if anything, I believe that when you start elevating stories of Black and brown people who are
Mhm.
caregivers,
Mhm.
everyone wins, right? Like it's not a
Mhm.
matter of either or like,
Mhm.
excluding a group. It's actually like when I look at pamphlets, when I look at websites, when I look at people who are elevated as experts around dementia care, when I look at the folks who get put on, panels and in speaking engagements, we're as a society have elevated, and I'm not sure people realize it, but if you look closely, you will see it, and then you won't be able to unsee it. But we do a lot of
Mhm.
elevating of white faces around dementia care, especially in
Mhm.
the Alzheimer's space. And
Yeah.
when you actually look at the data of the people who were deeply impacted by this disease, it
Mhm.
truly is Black and brown communities. Yet, we're not giving them the space to share their stories. We're not giving them the space to elevate the realities of their experiences. And so,
Mhm.
what I have chosen to do is like not necessarily to call people out or not to, create waves, but it's just like there's power in me just being visible.
Mhm.
There's power in me, saying yes to the opportunities because every yes is now opening a door to new perspectives and maybe challenging and pushing organization systems, policies to do better in the choices they make beyond me, right? And so I very much see myself as someone who is just using my voice to take up space to then
Mhm.
bring others along with me because the reality is this is a multicultural, multifaceted, complex disease, and
Mhm.
everyone deserves a seat at the table, right? And everyone wins when we're all at the table. Like no one loses anything, you know? So
Completely.
I went on a little bit of a rant, like a little soapbox, but
Ah.
that's what I believe is so powerful and why I believe in sharing so
Mhm.
openly because
Mhm.
we miss out on, you know, not just perspectives, but like knowledge, experience,
Mhm.
insights, right? Um, when we don't allow space for people to be seen.
I was getting goosebumps as you were sharing in the sense of it. I want everyone to hear that, and I want to have it be such a open conversation and a part of deeply ingrained in the foundation of how we provide care, right? It's that with, not for. And, I look at different senior living organizations or even age tech, and right, you create um, care systems and technology. And oftentimes, some organizations do this well, but oftentimes it's created without including the voice and the people that we're caring for. And, I've definitely had some internal accountability and thoughts about that just in the work that I do of how can we ensure, because like you said, everyone wins when we have that perspective, and just the ability to be so mindful about that. And my one of my, I would say, favorite things to do is look at opportunity or people or organizations and connect the dots for other people, and to make those introductions, or to um to elevate the who they are or their story. And there's a quote that it's like, oh, and it's driving me nuts. I can't think about it. But it's like when you share about someone else, or celebrate like whatever they're doing, it doesn't ever take away from you,
Right.
And I think that's just uh, human challenge for some people in general, regardless of all of those other factors. But yeah, the ability to do that.
Mm.
There's the opportunity, I think, for organizations to understand and to, I think there's a lack of awareness, whether intentionally or unintentionally, to not partner in the best way with whether it's older adults or caregivers. And for people listening right now, what would you share with them about how they can be better partners and supporters of shifting the perspective, but then truly including all voices at the table?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what my most candid reaction is like, why is it so hard? Right? Like,
Right? Literally not that hard.
right? Like you would look at me crazy if I
Mm.
decided to operate like in the most homogenous of ways and never include other perspectives. And so why is it so difficult for other people, organizations, leaders, decision makers to really step outside of their comfort zones and talk to other people to broaden their perspectives, right? Like it doesn't, from where I sit, it doesn't make sense. And the only thing that comes to mind is like a what biases and or stereotypes and or assumptions are undergirding the ways in which you're viewing people and
Mhm.
potential outcomes, right? Like that's where my head goes.
Yeah.
But I'll share an example of a current I'm currently in this experience right now. So I have a speaking engagement in the state of Nebraska in September. It's
Mhm.
virtual, but they're based in Nebraska. And this woman is a white woman. She's a part of this organization, and she runs this support group for caregivers and people who care and people who like support caregivers.
Mhm.
And she was like, you know, we organized this caregiving film viewing, and we had X, Y, and Z expert on the panel, and all of these people came out. And then at the end of the event, we gave out a survey, and she was like, I read every single survey, and the comments that came back were like, this film explicitly talks about how X number of percentage of caregivers are people of color. Yet you
Mhm.
had not one person on your panel or expert that was a person of color. They were
Mm,
like, and she saw it multiple times. And this is a white woman.
mhm,
She was like, "Oh my goodness. I
mm,
didn't even think like I didn't even think of it." It took a survey of people calling it out for her to
mhm,
see it. And then she was like, "Well, yeah, in our community, there's a whole community of refugee populations, immigrant populations, Black population." She was like, "They're all caregivers of some sort, and my event was not inclusive of them." And she was
mm,
like, "I've got to be better." And so that's
mhm,
why I'm talking to you, Jessica, and X, Y, and Z other person,
mhm,
because I recognize that I have a responsibility to make
mhm.
sure I'm not excluding parts of our community that I say matter.
Yeah.
So I share that example to make sense of the question you asked me. It's like, if you deeply believe that
Mm,
all people, regardless of race, color, creed, deserve equitable health care, deserve like equitable health outcomes, then
mhm,
you would do the work on the front end to make sure that you're creating inclusive environments in the choices that you make, the decisions that you make, whatever you create and put together. It's
yeah.
not that difficult. It might take a little bit more time. You might have to ask more questions. You
Mhm,
actually might have to spend some money, right?
thank
Um,
you.
but if the outcome and the impact is what you're really working towards,
Mhm.
it shouldn't be a big deal to you.
Completely. Right. Right. It's that alignment. If your vision and your goal is to serve in this way,
Yeah.
then the action and the investment has to match to be in alignment, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Simple. Mhm.
completely. And for organizations, we had shared about, right? Have the perspective and insight of collaborating on developing their language and their marketing, let's say, or have those long-term partnerships to represent if your brand is serving this certain demographic, is that in alignment then with the people that you have sharing, right? Invest in people that care to offer those education and the training and have the public recognition, right? Share their work and with your network, right? Like all of those things that I think, yes, a portion of has investment, but a large portion of it does not have any cost associated. It's time, intention, and energy.
Yes.
And that is something we can give, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's the also the conversation about equitable outcomes for loved ones living with dementia. And for you, what does equity look like in practice in that regard? And where do you see those gaps today?
Whew, you got the heavy hitting question.
I
So good.
do.
I think we've lost sight of what words really mean, right?
Mm,
And when I say equitable outcomes, what I
mm,
mean, just like in general, is like, regardless of the zip code I live in, regardless of the access to resources that I have, I still have a fighting chance to ensure that my loved one or the person I'm caring for has good quality care, right?
yeah.
It actually shouldn't matter whether my mom was a public school teacher or whether she has an extremely expansive trust fund to be able to privately pay for care, right?
Mhm,
In the end of the day, if we say we care about all people aging well and being treated with dignity and respect, what are the supports? What are the
mhm,
tools? What are the policies that are put in place to ensure that whether I'm on Medicaid or can fully fund my health care, I
mhm.
still have the opportunity to thrive in this part of my life, right?
Yeah,
And so that's what I mean when I say like equitable outcomes. It depends, how are we as organizations and systems and states investing in communities, investing in resources so
mhm.
that we all have a fighting chance to reach the finish line? That's what
Yeah.
I mean, and I think we can look at our country today and just see, we've got high risk states. We've got states where caregivers aren't being paid to care or not being paid enough for like of a living wage to be able to sustain their own lives. We've got states where people are going to, facilities and not being treated well. Therefore, their health outcomes are declining. We've got people who are exhausting their resources because they can't qualify for Medicaid. They're not rich enough to pay for their own care. And so like families are literally falling apart. Like that's not equity when it comes to, to health outcomes. That is truly just like everyone struggling to make it, right? And that in itself is not sustainable. And in a world where we are all aging, and where dementia diagnoses are increasing and people are becoming caregivers literally every single day, that's not going to fly. And that's unacceptable for a thriving place to be living, you know?
Oh, you touched on so many important things. Yes. And there is a system that isn't set up to support, right? We're not, maybe not um, low income for Medicaid, but yet we can't pay for care. We're struggling for access, like regardless of other factors. Like that is, I would say, the overwhelming effect on caregivers' mental health as well, right? Of just the constant burden of
Mm,
the inability to just be supported in our health and in humanity in general, of just being able to be cared for.
mhm,
Uh, there's the point of, as we're walking through all of those really, really hard things, personally for you, you talk about how we like have the strength within us, but how do we tap into that? Because a lot of us, right, exhausted, feeling unseen, and also what's anchored you in those moments of going through all these
mhm.
frustrations.
I mean, this has been a long journey, and I don't think anyone ever enters caregiving thinking it's going to be over a decade, right?
Mm, right.
Especially, we don't talk about Alzheimer's disease enough, but I mean, yes, it's a terminal illness, but it's a long haul terminal illness, right? Like we're
Mhm,
going on 11 years, and while my mom is in the advanced stages and fully
mhm,
bedbound and on hospice, my mom could easily live another year, right? Like, and
mhm,
I'd be so grateful.
mhm,
And what I've learned because this has been such a long period of time, not just like showing up for my mom, but navigating resources, systems,
mhm,
insurances, right? Like navigating getting the supports that she deserves, navigating trying to work full time and or provide financially, right? Like the cost of
mhm,
care. And
mhm,
then just like trying to just be a human. I think it's I just want to say out loud that that's exhausting and overwhelming. And anyone who is in the seat of being a caregiver right now, like it is heavy.
mhm,
It is
mhm,
very heavy. And I never want to like Pollyanna my way, being like, well, just be
mhm,
so grateful. It's like, no, I can be grateful and acknowledge that this has been heavy. And what has kept me and what continues to keep me is one, just like I truly do love my mom. And
mhm,
I'm an only child. And I think that like I watched my mom sacrifice so much for me to ensure that I could be the best that I could ever be.
mhm,
I deep down, I I know that like there's no other choice for me because
mhm,
not that she ever forced me, but I would never be able to turn my back on my mom, right? And that's not the case for everyone. So, but for Jessica,
mhm,
it's like I
mhm,
deeply love my mom, right?
mhm,
I think the second thing is that in this experience, have a new like purpose and passion for ensuring that people like my mom and those that come after us get what they deserve and have like equal treatment and equitable treatment and have the opportunity to age well. Like
mhm,
I don't know if that there's a fire within me to change systems because no
mhm,
person should ever have to feel like no one understands dementia, right? Like no person should
Mhm.
ever have to feel like they have to be the ones to walk into the doctor's office armed with all of your documentation just to be believed.
Mhm.
That's absurd, you know? And so I
Mhm.
think there's like, in addition to my love for my mom, there's a deep passion just to make things better than they were on my like journey.
Mhm.
But honestly, also what keeps me is just being really grounded in the reality that I get to care for my mom.
Yeah.
You know, no one is forcing me to, I don't have to, but I get to see my mom through all of these stages.
Mhm.
And, sure, I am navigating the anticipatory grief and the
Mhm.
grief of not having my mom here for the big milestones that are to come in my life.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I've been able to see my mom in new ways that I never would have if I
Mhm.
wasn't living at home caring for her. What
Mhm.
a privilege it is to usher my mom through each stage of this disease and
Mhm.
each stage of her life and still bring her joy and to bring her laughter and to see her smile, right? Like all
Mhm.
of that I think is making me a better person,
Mhm.
which in turn helps me get up every single day.
Yeah, what a beautiful reflection of that. There's an intimacy too in ushering her through each of those moments.
Yeah.
And what a privilege to have that deepening of a relationship in that way, you
Mhm.
know? I think about those moments that are so precious and intimate that we get to experience with humans, and there's very few of those, right? It's maybe birth could be another one if you're in the room at that moment, or truly the process of intimately caring for someone. I mean, I'm really trying to rack my brain on what some of those other things are, and that's a privilege of a lifetime. Yeah,
Absolutely.
privilege of a lifetime.
You only
I
get one mom. You only get one.
Yeah.
I only get this. I will only get one chance to do this.
Mm, mhm,
And did I make the most of my chance?
mhm,
I think that I did. Like I don't believe that I'm going to have big regrets when
mhm,
she does transition
mhm,
because I laid it all out there and did the best that I could. I think
mhm,
that's the thing too is like I'm not a perfect caregiver. I didn't do everything right. I didn't have all the answers, but I
mhm,
kept showing up and I kept you
mhm,
at the center. And I think that she is deeply proud and grateful for that. And
mhm.
that gives me so much peace in this process too of like, yeah, I only get one mom, and I think I did pretty
Mhm.
good by the one that I got. So
Yes, yes. And I love how you share about I love the duality, right? Where you can have the there can be that hardship and hard times, and the joy and the presence of all of that, along with, right, the care and the intentionality. And also you do talk about having time for yourself too, to have the sustainability to then continue
Mhm.
being in that support. So I know that I've learned that from you, of just the um, unapologetically also making time for yourself and enjoying those moments.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Listen, we all have the same hours in the day. At the same time, some of those hours have to be dedicated to you. Or
Yeah.
else you're not going to be who you need to be, right? Like for the person you're caring for, just like for those that you're around. I think I
Mhm.
told this to someone. I was like, yeah, self-care isn't selfish. And also, I need to be able to care for myself so I care for my mom, but also that I'm a good human for other people. I was like, when I'm stressed,
Mhm.
I'm snapping at everyone else. I'm making
Mhm.
assumptions. I'm not listening. Like I'm a bad friend, partner, and caregiver. So like caring for me is absolutely critical for all of you, right?
Yes, completely, completely. And for I believe I hear and I know in my own stuff, you do have to kind of wrestle with the selfish piece or not, or giving yourself permission, or,
Yeah.
in just all those different ways. But yet, we're so much better humans when we have the ability to do that. So I love that people are talking about that more and sharing about that more, and in ways giving, not that we need permission, but giving people permission to do the same,
Yeah.
right? To
Hmm.
take the same. For those that want to support caregivers, I think a lot of times we might not know what to say or where to start or how to be helpful in those ways. And so oftentimes I think people then just don't do anything, which is so sad.
Yeah.
And I've had to outgrown some uncomfortability, some time of just even approaching it from, I don't know what to say, but I'm here.
Yeah.
And I know, and I remember even in my life when someone would be like, well, let me know how I can help. And I'm like, well, now you gave me another thing that I have to think about doing, and I don't have the mental capacity for that.
Yeah.
But yet the intention is there. So what was helpful, or what is helpful, and what's some tangible ways that other people can support caregivers?
Yeah. So there's a two-pronged approach. I'm going to talk about or talk to the people who are caregivers. I think
Mm,
we, and I know for me, and I can speak from my own experience, I think I just assumed that because people knew that I was a caregiver, they would show up, or
mm,
they would offer, or they would be helpful. And the reality is, you caregiver cannot assume that anybody knows anything about you and or can read your mind. And so there is some onus, like when you are not in a state of stress, to write down all the things that you do and or might need. I'm not saying it has to be pretty. It can be a post-it note. It can be a piece of scratch paper, but
mm,
like write down the things that are part of your daily routine, right? So that when someone does ask you, let me know, it's actually like, here's my list. Take one of these things off of the list, right? Like, and so there's a sense of being like really empowered in
mm,
owning the ask and
mm,
like owning what you need. So, and no one, I think we tiptoe around that sometimes, but it's actually like, no, caregiver, you might not know what you need, but I know you go grocery shopping every week. Where do you go grocery shopping? Okay, cool. Gift card here, right? Like, I think it's like
yes.
it's be really specific about your day to day, and then give people the space to make a choice of how they want to impact said day. And
Mhm.
then the second prong is to those people who want to be helpful. I think I'm not sure people realize, and I can only speak as a caregiver of someone with dementia, is that
Mhm.
it is the most lonely, traumatic grieving process. And I liken it to like when someone dies, everyone knows how to show up. It's like it's almost like a natural thing. When someone dies, there's a whole period of cards being sent, phone calls being made, food being sent,
Food. Yep.
flowers, right? Like you show up just because, right? And
Mhm.
that happens for a period of time, then it fades, but still you know what to do. When someone has a baby, there's a whole process. You feel so like, empathetic for the parents to be, yada, yada. Again, there's a
Mhm.
whole set of things you do.
Mhm.
Yet when someone says, I'm now a caregiver of someone with dementia, it is crickets. But
Yeah.
imagine if you just use those same instincts for those other moments with a
Mhm.
dementia family caregiver. That's actually what that caregiver needs. And if they don't want it, give them the space to say, no more casseroles, please. But I
Right.
really appreciate you, right? Here's what I actually need. But like so many people, to your point, just like go silent or get paralyzed that you don't even give the space for a dialogue to happen. Anyway,
Right.
let me be really clear. I was on a
Yeah.
soapbox for a second. What can people do? One is like, don't be afraid just to say, hey, I know that you're navigating this diagnosis. I don't know very much, but I'm committed to remaining close to you, right?
Mm.
Can I call you every week just to check in? That's
Mm.
really specific without actually putting any pressure, right? It's
Mhm.
a, hey, I noticed that you were always in your yard, but like
Mm.
as your neighbor, you haven't been out here. Can I pull these weeds for you or cut your grass for you, right? Like, what do you notice? And then what can you offer because you noticed this thing?
Yes.
And then give me the space to say yes or no. That's the most tangible thing you can do.
So good. I want to talk all day
I
and
know.
have you have
Time
you
flew
share
by. Oh my gosh.
everything. I know. It's so Thank you. Thank you. And I know that with the ability to have the voice, so I want people to know about you and your work and the resources that you've created. Before we go deeper into that, I know there's recently a documentary where you share your story. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about that. And then we want everyone to connect with you and be able to support you. So, yeah.
Yeah, so the most recent project was with the PBS documentary Caregiving, executive produced by Bradley Cooper and WETA. And it is out on all PBS streaming apps and channels. But it is, my mom and I were featured in the shorts leading up to the film to help
Mhm,
advertise, but also to bring in different perspectives around
mhm,
caregiving. And so
mhm,
you can watch our YouTube, or not YouTube, but the short on the Wellbeing's website connected to the film, and also support the actual film and watch all 2 hours of it because I believe, from my perspective, it really gives a really helpful overview of just like
mm,
how we have approached care and supporting people who are caregivers in this country,
mhm,
how systems and policies have either
mhm,
helped or hindered us.
mhm.
And it's a really great insight into the fact that literally everyone is caring for somebody.
Yes.
You might think that you're not close to this, but it could be the kids at your, son or daughter's school. It could be
Mhm,
your neighbor down the street. It could be the ladies at church, whatever it might, but someone is taking
mm,
on the burden of thinking through the care of someone else. And I
yes.
really believe the film helps increase empathy and
Mhm,
understanding of just like how
mhm.
heavy caregiving truly is. So it's worth watching.
It is. I believe so. I watched it, and when you talk about it, I loved the overview of all of the history and systems and the perfect storm of why we are here at this place, and then the personal, being able to touch on all of those personal stories. I thought it was so well done, and it made me mad in a good way and sad and hopeful, hopefully, where because people are giving that a bigger voice. And then, okay, so tell us how we can connect with you, your work, the resources that you've created for people to
Yeah.
access that.
The best way to support and just connect with us is via Instagram. If you're on Instagram, you can find us at When Career and Caregiving Collide. So, Career Caregiving Collide is the handle, Jessica C. Guthrie. You can follow me on my website at jessicacguthrie.com. If you are a family caregiver, I think it's best to follow me there because you can see the realities of just like the day to day of
Mhm,
navigating advanced Alzheimer's disease with my
mhm,
mom. But if you're someone who works in like a corporate setting and or an organizational setting, a lot of my work is around supporting companies with their employee resource groups, doing
mhm,
panels and talks to bring the realities of how we're supporting your workers that are family caregivers. And then,
mhm,
of course, bringing awareness to those of you who are creating products and don't have caregivers around the table.
mhm.
Part of my consulting work is being a caregiver around your table to make sure you're creating the best products or structures for family caregivers.
Yeah.
And then if you're someone who truly wants to just think about the strategy behind how we connect and amplify the caregiver experience, that's also part of my work. So really, I touch all bits and pieces of individuals to organizations, but the
Amazing.
best way to reach me is Instagram and or my website or LinkedIn, which is Jessica
Amazing.
Guthrie.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I know that people are going to feel encouraged and empowered, and hopefully, not even hopefully, be inspired. They need to take action and make
Yes.
change. So thank you. Always, always
Yes.
a joy. Thank you for being with me.
Of course.
Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe and give us 5 stars. In all honesty, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to our episode.